Welcome to On the Couch with Caroline, where we'll be finding out what makes people be the impossible. Please enjoy the episode. And welcome, everyone. I would like to welcome you to the official episode 2 of On the Couch with Caroline. Tonight, we've got the amazing Beau with us. Sam is the health queen, and she'll be able to tell you more about that. So I'm not going to give away too many details, but she's an amazing combination of health guru, nutritionist, passionate wellness coach, artist. She's done amazing things. And, you know, I know you're really going to get so much out of this because especially in today's, you know, everything that's going on, our health and our wellness is something that we all really need to focus on. So I would like to introduce Sam now. I'll just get her on video. How are you going there, Sam?
I am great. Am I on video? It says.
No, your video hasn't come on yet.
It says when I go to do it, it says that start video, unable to start video. You can't start your video because the host has stopped it.
Oh,
I love live.
I know.
Like real.
I would never want to not have your beautiful face on. Yes, I know live is so good, isn't it? All I can do is make you. The only way I can get you on is to make you the host because it's not letting me. Okay, that's no. Oh, isn't this delightful? Sorry, everyone who's out there. Technology. See, this is what happens when you go live and life. Basically.
Sure is. Does it let you just down the bottom? It doesn't. If you go down my name, does it say?
No, it's there, and when I go to make you go live, it like sort of scams, it goes over it, and won't let me press the button. Gives me all these other options. Move pin, make host, change role to attendee, rename.
What happens if you make me a host? Because we might be.
Yeah, let's just put you on as host. You now are running the show.
I think you can too. I think that's
it. So we've got you, and that's all that's important amongst the grass there.
I don't know what that virtual backdrop is. Let's just get rid of that. Time HD, choose virtual backdrop. Let's just go with something like none. Ah, there we go. Okay.
Welcome, Sam. And you know, I think that's a good example to everyone that, you know, sometimes life's just a shit show. And you just got to do what you can to just work through it.
Not take it too seriously.
No, that's the one. All righty. I'm just going to get straight into it.
Yes, my dear.
And I want you to tell everyone who is Beau.
Yeah. So, hello. I guess I have a few aliases. Sammy to my friends. Was born with a totally different name altogether. The Beau is almost become like a brand, you know. I think it's funny as women because we can have different surnames, but the Beau is the health warrior, the published author, the person who is an advocate for Australians and their health, for people worldwide wanting them to see the goodness within and knowing that true empowerment is actually harnessing the resources you have in your garden, at your fingertips, in your mindset. And to me, that is what it's not just women, it's men as well, but to me that's the essence of the Beau. That's the message I have always talked and really tried to install in people.
Yeah. And I know you well enough to know that that's exactly what you just said then perfectly describes who I know you are, plus so much more, but I'm sure we'll draw all that as we go along.
Yeah.
So when you were little, like, and I love going back to everyone's little, what you do now, is that what you wanted to be, or did you have any idea what you wanted to be as a young girl?
Yeah, so I had an interesting upbringing. You know, some would, you know, nowadays people say traumatic, all that sort of jazz. I don't really cast back on my childhood like that, but it was pretty chaotic, for sure. You know, there's a lot of abuse as a child. My mum died when I was 12. I got handed around lots of relatives, and I think I must have been wired a bit differently. At the age of 10, I wrote down on a piece of paper what I wanted to be in life, and most days I still align with those three things. And I guess some people are just born that way, some
Yeah.
people it's just in you. Other than that, the childhood for me was very much riding around on a bicycle, climbing trees, cuts and all the rest of it. And in high school, sport was my saving grace. That was the thing that was my stable growing up. And I suspect if I didn't have sport and if I didn't have nature, because I was so gifted to grow up in Tasmania, we went bushwalking in our lunch breaks. We went kayaking in the Derwent River. Like it was just foundationally, mentally, definitely the thing that kept me and developed the person that I am. Just kept me strong.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like I grew up in the country, Victoria.
Mm.
Interestingly enough, I've just done my family tree, and my dad's side, we're all Tasmanians back to the 1800s, early. Yeah. So, yeah. So, what part of Tassie?
Hobart.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, and but Nonna came over from Italy and started at Mildura, and
Okay.
yeah, I think it's interesting at the moment how divided Australia is on certain issues, yet we really started as a unified mass coming together under common culture and high work ethic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and a lot of that's been brought over from overseas,
Yeah.
and
And that's what I love about that whole, and I'm a Melbourne girl, and say, well, Mildura is just, no, I grew up in Witchyproof, so not far from it.
oh yeah,
But like that whole melting pot, and I find that like, it was hard for me to adjust up here. I don't know how you found it, but like coming from Melbourne,
yeah.
where multicultural just was like a norm. I never ever thought that anyone was like different.
Mm.
And I remember hosting a refugee family when we at the country town when I was like 10.
Yeah.
Which again, like you said, 10, that shaped my life. Having that refugee family come stay at our house from Vietnam shaped who I am today, that experience.
Mm.
So I think it's really powerful that you said you wrote something down when you were 10.
Mm. Yeah, and I refer to it occasionally, and it is still who I am today. I wanted to sounds. Sometimes I feel a bit apologetic for it, but this is a 10-year-old writing this down. I wanted to be famous. I wanted to represent Australia, and I wanted to help as many people on the planet, mums and orphans, as I can and could. And that's still exactly what I do today.
Yeah, yeah, that's perfect.
Mm.
So, amongst all of that, what do you think is the greatest challenge you've faced?
Good question. So I being a female who's now in her 50s, there's been two probably challenges. Are we allowed to have two?
You can have as many as you like.
And two, being a teenage girl in any era is not easy. I think we all become slightly psychotic. We certainly self-doubt. We're sensitive. We've got hormone changes. We are falling in love. It is one of the most tumultuous, difficult times in a person's life or a woman's life. The second would definitely have been post-divorce, when I had children and felt a total failure to myself, to my children, and never thought I'd be in that predicament. But I was the one who instigated it because I just was seeking joy and happiness, and it just wasn't there. But felt totally gutted that I had created a family and was the person who pulled the pin on that family dynamic. So that was a really tricky time. Many of tears on the couch.
Yes.
And many self-doubt, lots of self-loathing, thinking I was a bad person. And then on the other side, when you've got a ex who's telling you that you are a bad mother, you are a bad person, it can, they were dark times for me.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I know, like, and especially for women, for me, like I was a single mum, like right from the start. And I remember, one of the worst things I used to remember around that time. So it's like 20 years ago when that first happened, and I was still drinking at the time, so I was pretty unstable anyway at the best of times. So I didn't need much to trigger me. But like the number of newspaper articles around that time about how single mothers were ruining children's lives.
Right.
Like that has shifted a little bit, but around the time when I was a single mom, that was like in the newspaper
Wow.
like once a week, that, you know, that children would grow up dysfunctional if they weren't in the family unit, all that sort of
Wow.
stuff. And it's interesting because you say that, you know, and same, I think, you know, that whole social concept of marriage, divorce, and what we're supposed to be.
Mm.
And it doesn't often bring us happiness, but you went in search of happiness.
Yeah, so, you know, I've done a lot of work, I guess, on values and, you know, if I was to die tomorrow, would I be happy in that moment? And if not, why not? What can I change right now to make that moment the best moment? And that's held me in good stead. So that really helps you every day almost declutter yesterday and reassess what your values are. And mine are 100% fun, adventure, giving back, the planet. I don't have to. Financial stability is in there now. It never used to be. You know, I have traveled the world a lot, and those have been the things I've sought out. And, you know, I guess, you know, people stand back and go, oh my God, you know, you're over here, you're under a waterfall there, you're eating pinchos in San Sebastian again. And, you know, and it looks great on the outside, and that's because I'm living my truth. If it's not you on the inside, don't do it. You know, other people are happier with stability around them and following their value system. And I think probably the best thing I've ever done is go through my values.
Yeah. And yeah, and I get that. I've done a bit of values work, and it was really interesting because, like, I know for one of mine, when I did values work, was I looked at all the lists and I went, oh my God, I don't have wealth anywhere.
Mm,
Right.
mm,
And so then, you know, we talked about how you can change your value. You know, it's hard, but you can do work and NLP to change your value system.
mm.
And I went, but hey, hang on a minute. My biggest idols, Mahatma Gandhi, people who have nothing and achieve greatness. I said, I don't need wealth in there as a value,
Mm.
because that's not what I aspire to. Like, I've done work around money mindset, and that's a different thing.
Mm.
But it's interesting when you work on your values, what you find. And a lot of people go through life not looking at what their actual values are. And do you find that's where you find people are incongruent?
Most often than not, because there, you know, so I've done a lot of health coaching, life coaching, weight loss, mindset, specialize in hormones, and I'll find that, you know, people will be going, and you know, the unconscious mind is an incredible play space and orbitary universe to explore, because it governs everything. So if, you know, I say to people, who do you think's driving the ship? You know, the captain or the crew? And people go, well, obviously the captain. I go, well, what if the captain says we're going for that cliff over there, you know, turn the boat left? The crew's not going to let that happen. And time again, I've had people come to me and say, oh, you know, I need to lose weight. That's important. And so the captain puts down the directive, and then the crew will sabotage it because it's Monday night and it's 9 o'clock and they're still single and they haven't got that guy, and they'll go to the fridge and just do a So the values highlight why those sabotaging moments occur. And until they are really understood, a person will always be sabotaged by a value conflict, or they'll get anxious because they're, you know, working in a workplace and they might be about saving the world, but the business is about making dollar, and there'll be this conflict. So until those are ironed out, to me, it is foundational for joy and happiness to understand that you know your own values, you know, whether it's protection, saving, love, family, friends first, because it really helps you then not just allocate your time and energy and focus in your personal commodities, but also understand when anxieties rise, it's because one of those isn't being met. And that's so vital for you as an individual.
Yeah. One of my favourite words, which I learned when I was in rehab 12 years ago, and it's always stayed with me, is incongruency.
It
And,
feels awkward.
yeah, and you get to know when you feel incongruent with what you're doing, and like you said, it's because your actions are not in alignment with your values generally.
Yeah. And then, you know, the opposite of that is that beautiful, juicy, je ne sais pas of flow, when things come to you easily and effortlessly, and just go, oh my God, this is joyful. It's because you are doing what your values are aligning you to do, and it's great. It's so good.
It is like I get that now, and it's an amazing feeling. So who would you say throughout your life has had the most influence on you?
Yeah, so I probably don't need to look far. It's probably been my nonna and my grandma. So my grandma just passed away. Oh, now what are we? Probably just shy of 2 months. Yeah. And at 94, she was an artist. She could speak Russian. She lived in France for years, and quite a remarkable lady. Not someone who would stand in public and talk, and not someone that you'd particularly, I called her every second day, but the little isms that she would pop out with that were just like, whoa, she's such a repertoire of knowledge. I just really enjoyed having her in my life for so long. And my nonno was great. He's Italian. He taught me the joy of food. He taught me the power of connection and hugging. He taught me the value of standing up and fighting. And he, when I was going through those, well, there's only been one divorce, but he would say, Sam, now is the time to show your teeth. There are some times where you have to fight, and now is it. And he gave me that permission to, at times, just go, right, gloves off, this is on.
I love that. And I love that about you, that you are so passionate about that. So that brings me on to, if you could change anything about the world, what would it be?
Can I say two?
Okay, let's go. This is like a two interview.
Yeah, sorry, it's a duet tonight. The two things now that today, the two things that are really upsetting me the most is what's happening in Afghanistan, and that needs to be changed. That I would change that with my magic wand. I would have said, well, peace and famine and all this other, and fresh running water around the world, but at the moment, the most pressing issue the planet has, and we are living the same point in time as you and I are talking now, those women over there are going to get beaten and killed, and I don't know how to help them, and that feels terrible for me. The second thing is the second thing at the moment I would change in a heartbeat is get rid of state governance and bring us all back as one country. This is Australia, and what's happening as of midnight tomorrow night has divided our country so much, and I'm getting 100 emails, maybe 200 today, people saying they're in pain because of what's going on, and I would change it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and I get that, and it's and I guess that's where I know, like, you get out there and you work, you're taking in other people's energies and stress, and and I know I do that as a coach sometimes too. So how does Sam look after herself when there's so much of that emotion coming into your life? How do you look after your own being?
Yeah, so I'd like to think I'm quite normal and grounded. So I swim in the ocean most days. I ride on my bike. I find, I think I'll get time to paint today, but I'm quite creative, so I'll often just create something. Today just created a script for a movie that's going to go off the ground about our local area. I am fortunate in that I love being outside and in nature, and and swimming in the ocean is just that one of the greatest joys, as is bushwalking. Finding yourself amongst these 100-year-old trees that canopy you in this warmth while your feet walk on the earth. Like, I guess that's my solace. I do daily meditation as well. Like I think it's quite naive to think that we're quite, I think we're ethereal, not so much lineal. And I love watching the sunrise, and lots of little things like that.
And I think it is sometimes it is like sometimes the little things that all add up, because I'm the same, like, and I'm obsessed. The one thing when I opened my gym, one of the hardest things for me was taking classes at 6 o'clock in the morning and missing the sunrise. Like
yes.
like actually I got to a point where I ended up going, I can't do this. I need to at least see a couple of weeks. So I had to get another PT in.
Yeah, good.
Just so I could have that experience, because I could see the difference in me just from not having that connection. And we get such a, and and I guess we're so, despite everything, so, and and you talk about Afghanistan, so privileged to live where we live right now, even though it's an absolute shit show.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I can sit there and say I'm so privileged that I have this amazing nature near me that I can experience.
That's right. So we're so fortunate.
Yeah. And I think though, sometimes, like, do you think, how do you get, I'm just deviating a bit here, how would you encourage people? How do you encourage people? Because I know a lot of people don't go outdoors enough. I think that's a simple thing, and they don't, because I'll say to people, like, even just go around the block. It's outside. You need to start somewhere. But what's your message to people who tend to not utilize that beautiful nature that we have?
Well, there's many ways. It depends what their resistance is. Is it because they've got social anxiety, don't want to go out, or they just don't see the value in exercising, or they're scared of the sun? I guess I've studied health and healthy people and happiness within people, and apart from studying people, I've also studied those things like Dan Buettner and the blue zones, and what people do around the world. That we're human beings. We're experiencers. We're experiencing connection, and if you're inside, you're missing a lot of connection. You're missing a lot of connection to the planet. You're missing those random little conversations with your neighbour. To think that you can live life virtually is virtually deluded.
Absolutely. Yeah.
During lockdown, it's been a saviour because we haven't had that physical ability necessarily to contact or have those chit chats. So it has saved people. But yeah, outdoors for me is, we were designed outdoors. I look at the tribal existence where people walk around without shoes. Their feet are on the planet. They're not in sneakers.
Yeah.
I have so many people who I've consulted over the years, and I go, so, when did you step on the planet today? When did you connect with the massive, thing that we are living upon? And they'll, oh yeah, okay, I went from my bed to the shower, put the shoes on to work, to the gym, to home. And I'm like, you haven't trod on the earth today. Like, you've got to tread on the earth. You have to connect yourself to the planet. Otherwise you just become less and less connected, or disconnected.
Totally.
Sorry, less and less disconnected.
Yeah. I know, like one of the things I love doing the most is beach running. There's that feel of like running on the beach. And it's interesting when I go, like, especially in competition or stuff like that I've done that's beach orientated, and the number of people who wear runners, and they go,
on the beach.
Yeah, like, you're not designed to wear your runners on the beach. Like, you're not designed to just go from your shoes straight into running on the beach. Like, take it slow. But there's an amazing feeling of sand and beach and water.
Yes, it is, and just to bathe in it all, like just to immerse yourself in it.
Yeah. So, what makes Sam laugh?
Lots of things. So lots and lots of things, just quirky things, funny things, random things, children. It's funny, the guys I swim with, must have been yesterday, the day before, one of them pulled out a photo of his grandchild in Melbourne, and it was just that little baby, and his son was filming it, and the baby was just going and it's just this watching someone else laugh is quite infectious. I love a good comedy, I really do enjoy being entertained to laugh as well. There's I guess, laughing is just an expression of joy, isn't it?
Yeah,
so it's really what makes me feel of joy.
Yeah, I think we all probably need more laughter in our life, and I think that's where, I think, to being able even to laugh at situations when they're just chaotic,
funny. That's right.
You just gotta go like, really? And and go, okay, And like you said, like, and you would know that, you know, that the actual physical change in a person from laughing.
Oh, it's that's become my specialty is hormones, and
Mm.
the the act of laughing drops cortisol, drops testosterone, increases dopamine, increases oxytocin. So if people want to lose weight, laughing is one of the best measures they can do.
Yep. And if they feel good about themselves, they're more likely to go and seek that as well.
Yeah, yeah.
It
There's
just
so many
be,
spin-offs for having high dopamine, oxytocin levels.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. So do
Mm.
you have a daily routine that you never miss?
That I never miss. Yes, probably. Well, at the it kind of waxes and wanes where I'm and changes depending where I am in the world and what time
Yeah.
zone, etc. I'm on. At the moment, it's getting up around about 4:30. I'll do a Reiki meditation, bringing white light into my crown and my third eye purple, and watching the sunset. Uh, they're unshakable. They're for me.
Yep.
Swimming in the ocean today, I didn't, and I've regretted not doing it. But then, sometimes I get a bit down that I didn't do it, but I made a choice. I rode the bike. So being in nature every day is a non-negotiable.
Yep.
Uh, brushing teeth optional. No, I'm joking. Essential. Um,
Oh,
where,
I want furry teeth today.
yes, yeah. Option. Yes, I'm not too fastidious on lots of things, except I do have a little garden as well, and I do like to connect with the planet. And where I can, I'll cook,
Yeah.
because self
So
nourishment comes from that.
did you always do that, or when did you work out that that was your thing that you needed to do
I've
every
always
day?
exercised,
Yep.
and that has been my. People call it exercise, which sounds like it's a not a ritual. It sounds like it's a tick box activity tick.
Yeah.
Not for me, it's just my fabric. Call
Yep.
it movement, call it being outdoors, call it being active, whatever terminology it needs to be called. That's I prefer to structure my life with that being the main thing, and the other stuff has to slot into that.
Yep.
And that's been from a young age.
And I think that's where, like you know, with anything, it becomes whether you know healthy eating. It becomes lifestyle rather than making choices. It just becomes something you do.
It's just who I am, and it's my DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely my DNA. Yeah.
So I guess that's leads into similar, like, so that's how you would maintain your mental and your physical and emotional and spiritual self.
Yeah, I mean that's a jigsaw of lots of
Mm.
pieces as well. It's I've said health is not a default position. Health is something you have to work at.
Mm.
Health is something you commit to. Health is something you do daily actions around. To think that swallowing herbal supplements and pills is going to make you healthy, as opposed to eating an organic meal that you've selected out, talked to the farmer to, ask the conditions that the food's grown in, gone and looked up a recipe and made with love and care, is really missing the point. So health physically is a conglomerate of exercise and good sleep, rest, switching off, eating well, nourishing your self. Mindset, soul. I think it's just as important as school education and work. Where your mind is at, it's where everything is at.
Yeah.
And I did hear someone great once say, be like a warrior to the doorstep of your mind. Don't let crap in.
Yeah.
Be mindful of what you're listening to on TV, who you're talking to, who you're allowing into your life. And then I guess the higher purpose stuff, this soulful stuff, is allowing yourself to have time to daydream and find that compass that's within us that feels naturally where we should be directed at. Because sometimes we have rational thoughts and we want a career path and we're pushing that way. Should be more swaying that way. So you have to give yourself daily time just to drift. So I've just got to bend down and get a water. So that
Yeah.
time for reflection that's not filled with chores is so important as well.
Yeah. And I think that's important. Like, that's one of the things I found when I first got into the fitness industry, is that whole, like I say to people, if someone tells you there's only one good diet or one way to do something, I said, run 100 miles in the opposite direction.
100%.
Because everyone's different and it's such a mix of everything.
100%.
It's like that life wheel. You need to try and fill each of the little parts of it rather than focus purely on one.
And I mean, people's needs change throughout their life too. Like when you're breastfeeding's different to when you're in menopause. Your nutritional needs can be radically different when you're exercising to when you're sitting behind a desk, and that can be the one person, and that can change within a year.
Yes.
So continually finding what works for you, in terms of a food regime or whatever you want to call it, is, I tend to call it nourishment, rather than a diet or an eating plan. That's just terminology I use. But finding out how best to nourish yourself to get the best out of your body is important. It takes reflection, and it takes the ability to have a clear mind to go, I felt really bloated and farty after that. What was that?
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't be eating that. And bringing it to the conscious thought where you go, won't eat that anymore. See how I go,
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I was on a Facebook post the other day, and someone asked, I'm really busy at the moment, so I'm skipping meals. Can someone tell me what the best shake is? And like, there's all these different brands. I won't go into too many names, but a lot of the common ones. And like my comment was, none, just eat real food.
Yeah. And the thing with, this faster, better mentality, and that was one of my keynote talks for years, was on food and corporate health disease. And I've done many different keynote topics, but the big one to me is that whole, we're too busy to eat mentality, because I've got to work, and I've got to work hard. I have to get it there at 7 and I can't leave till 5, and I don't have time for a lunch break. Got to eat something quick and on the run or whatever. I'm like, it's such a, it's really missing the point on living. Your body, so if your brain is on, if you're in the sympathetic state, and that's when your body's secreting, there's only an on switch and an off switch. When the on switch is on, the sympathetic state, your body is more concerned about what it can do, what it can churn out, KPIs, deadlines, it has no time to digest. So if you go and put food in that system when that switch is on, you're not going to digest it at all. You're not going to get the nutrients out of it. You might be having a shake while you're sitting in front of the computer, but you won't absorb much of that at all. And you become malnourished on a different level. And the only time we digest is when the switch is off in the parasympathetic state, and digestion is on. Now that takes 10 minutes from when you turn your brain off. So when I was doing these corporate talks in cities, I'd say, right, you've got to get up from your desk, go over the road, get a touchstone, come back, because people want scripts. How long do we do? Go down the lift, touch the stone, come back, minimum of 10 minutes. Then your stomach acid might have an opportunity to kick in, and then the digestive process can begin. But until that happens, do not put food in a system where the digestive system is switched off. People put on weight around their tummy. If they eat when their cortisol levels are high, they feel sluggish and tired. It just creates more hormone confusion. Insulin levels are high. They can end up with lots of different hormone imbalances through that one particular habit of eating when they're stressed.
That's such great advice for people, and like it's like everything, isn't it? Like we know, and as we get older, I think we understand more how important it is just not to be stressed.
Yeah, and look, it's an easy thing to say, don't be stressed. I tend to focus more on encouraging people to have more fun and be relaxed, because when you say to stress people, don't be stressed,
then they get stressed about not being stressed. Yeah.
How do I do that? I'm not meant to. Am I stressed when I'm eating? It's like, just feel relaxed, to have more fun, and then okay, that I can do.
Yeah, that used to be like, I smoke because I'm stressed, and like when years ago when I used to smoke, and I'd be like, but I smoke because I'm stressed. And like, then I wouldn't be able to have a cigarette and I would be like the most stressed person in the world. And I go like, yeah, that doesn't work.
That makes sense.
um, so which one, and you've got lots of life achievements, which one do you think means the most to you and why?
I've had 3 children.
There. And that's, I don't think anything really beats that in the bigger picture.
No, they've been all pretty remarkable. Look, there was a time, there's been plenty, speaking at Woodford to packed audiences, having people come up saying, "You've changed my life, you've saved my soul," having random people at airports come up and say the same thing, people spotting me saying, "You said something once and it changed my life, you saved my life." It's happened today many a time. That is something I'll never stop feeling, grateful for. Sitting in the green room about to go on TV, Channel 9. I've been lucky enough to be on Sunrise and Today, and multiple times on Today Extra, Today Tonight. And there's something about being, when you've got a message to tell,
Yeah.
and you've got the platform of Australia, and at that point, that feels quite privileged. Those moments have always been, you've done this, girl. You've done this.
Yeah.
Been plenty of sporting achievements. I know recently, I've spent the last couple of years, 6 months of the year overseas. So I've got the kids half time. So when I wasn't here, I was overseas, and I have pinched myself going around Venice and Italy. I've been to Italy maybe 8 times, but each time I go, you've created what you see. You've done well, girl. And each time has been the best moment of my life.
Yeah.
What a privileged person.
Yeah. And that, do you think that, because obviously when you were talking about earlier, and difficult, your childhood wasn't easy, and then losing your mum, that makes these accomplishments, even more important, like, because, and I think role modeling to other people that you can do it.
And I've never really set out to say, "Oh no, you can do it too." I'm not that person on Instagram that has hundreds of thousands. I'm not necessarily that person. However, I'm just trying to think of what you're saying there. Like there haven't been many leg ups. It's been a matter of forge and create. I think I have been wired differently. I think I've been gifted with determination, not stubbornness, of knowing when to back down and say sorry, or I've got this wrong. And it happens probably every day.
I had one of those moments yesterday on a phone call. Oops, I'm sorry. I know you've probably had a lot of these calls.
Oh yes, that one.
But I can acknowledge, but I think I guess for me, like, and I know with my story, it's like, you're not defined by your past. And I think trying to help people see that there are other ways to live your life, and using those situations of your life that aren't necessarily so great to build something else.
Yes, 100%. Like it was probably 12 years ago, I went to a seminar in Brisbane, and it was one of those, personal development ones, and we scribed down on the last day what your most perfect day was. And I stuck it up. I read it every day in the shower, and I took positive actions. And before I knew it, I'm living that life. If there's something in my current life I don't like, I might get the rubber out, I erase a few things and re-script it. What we tell ourselves we're able to is what becomes our reality.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. If the narrative in your head is poor you, you've always done, the world owes you, the government owes you, whatever, well, that's what you'll seek out in the world, and you will be rewarded with that reality. If you want to change that reality, you get the rubber out, the metaphoric rubber out, and you rewrite that script.
Yeah. So on that, I guess that leads on to the next one. You've sort of answered, but so if there's people out there watching, right, and what advice would you give them about following their dreams?
I'd say this: life's not a dress rehearsal, and life is not a dress rehearsal. This isn't. This is the real gig. You will not get a second chance at this life, and life is going on around you every single second. Don't wait for it to be perfect before you execute. Go out now, get that compass pointed in the direction you think it should be going, and start moving the boat towards where you think it should be. When you've set sail and it doesn't feel right, just go back under the deck and readjust it a little bit and see where it does feel right. Have a sense of where you want to go to, but don't think you've got all the answers right now. Just launch, get into life, get into something, get out there, get amongst it, and understand that life is a series of running forward, tripping over, picking your socks up, dusting off again, and going again for it, and never give up the passion for what you want.
And I think that's really important. And, like I'm a big believer, like you just have to take action, and I learned that, you can't wait for things to be perfect because nothing's ever perfect, ever, 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 ever. And like you said, and that's what I found, like you take action, and even though you think that's where you're supposed to go, life will move you in the direction of what's really there.
Yeah.
But you just got to keep pushing forward. And like I said, falling over, falling backwards, getting up, dusting yourself off and going, okay, let's go again.
Yeah, and as long as you're getting somewhere in life, I mean, if you keep doing that and you find you're in Groundhog Day, well, then maybe you're on the wrong track totally. You don't want to be naive to or be silly about it. But I meant more like, like don't wait for things to be perfect before you get out there and experience life. Just get out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think that's I'm not going to go audition on The Voice as much as I would like to.
You could give it a crack.
That might be my goal, but I don't know that one's going to work out so well for me.
Give it a go. Who would know?
So, know thyself as well. And so, like for you, say if someone tells you, like, yeah, Sam, that's impossible. You'll never be able to do that. What's your response?
Probably, probably said that to the wrong person. Well, it's interesting. I did a live today because there's some atrocities happening in our homeland, and I started to, by midday there was 11,000 views, and about, I think there was like 1,200 comments. And I noticed that 200 of them were these trolls. And so people are just vile with language and just inappropriate. And it's like, you don't even know me. I'm a mum. I'm a pretty nice person. I'd probably stop and change your tyre, you bloody troll. So what happened to me? You can't do this. You can't say what you're saying. We're not going to allow you. I'm like, just watch me. Just watch me. So what's happened today is that, interesting enough, the people that I feared, the trolls in the past that have really made me cry and stay awake at night, today have become my strength, because today no one will stop me for saving the minority of people who are not enjoying what's going on around them, and I will fight for people's freedom.
Yeah, and I think it's being able to, and I think like it comes back to you saying your values, who you are, and when you know who you are, it's like when the wrong person in your life, the unhelpful person, let's call them, says stuff, it's like almost like either water off a duck's back or it helps drive you to your purpose. At the same time, if it's a helpful person and you know that, and if you're aligned with yourself, you can also sit back and go, oh, okay, maybe there's something I can adjust here for me. And I think that the more you know yourself, you know what direction these comments come from and how you can use them for your best advantage.
Yeah, true. I mean, to say to anyone that that's impossible, unless it's well, I don't know. I think everything's probably possible to a degree. Will I do Will I do 10 flip flaps in a gymnastic pose? Possibly not. Is it impossible? No. You pick what you want, and will I? I mean, I've done some amazing projects around the world as one person, and people would have sat back and said it's impossible what you're trying to achieve, and I've gone and done it. Like,
Yeah.
I have zero doubt in my ability to change the world and the people around me. So yeah.
I love that. Love that about you, that you have that confidence in what you're doing. And I think it's, like I said, I think, we can talk about all this stuff. And that's why, I love talking to you, is that people can read books, or they can read it online, they can do all that. But John, and most people learn or change behavior because they see someone else they admire doing it.
Mm.
And I think that makes such more of a difference in that whole, being able to see someone else in that journey who's achieved.
Yeah. Look, yesterday was I don't get many down days at all. Like, I'm fortunate I bounce along around, 10 out of 10, sort of, very fortunate. But that, as I said, that's not a default. That's because I do all those other little things. Yesterday I was pretty flat because of a few things that are going on in this country. And I thought, I need some inspo. And I listened to Mahatma Gandhi.
Yeah.
And I thought, God, if that man in India in that regime could do what he achieved without the internet, you'll be fine, girl. And then I listened to Martin Luther King, and the same thing, what he did for suppressed blacks during that era when women weren't even voting in that time. I just go, he had a dream. He had a dream that he could do it, and he did not bend from that dream. And I think they that you're right. They've inspired me now to go, come on, if these guys can do it, you can do it.
Yep. Yeah. I love that. So, for Sam, what's next for you?
Well, I'm an artist as well, so I've been painting. I haven't talked much about that.
No.
And, I have a dream that my art is hung in New York, Hong Kong. I've got a piece in Rome at the moment in a palace, and my ultimate dream is I'm a rich traveling artist. That's what I'd like, who gives back to the planet, who does projects. The immediate future, in the next week, I'm making a movie, a short promo clip for Coolangatta, where we live, promoting the businesses because they're going through a really tough time at the moment. And that's just come together today. Then there's kids. I can't travel at the moment, which is an anomaly for me. So it's, I've got lots of ideas that pop up all the time. The greatest calling at the moment in the next month, though, aside from painting, is helping people through this really tough, and I think it's going to be really tough next 4 weeks, making this video clip and trying to find some inroads to the Taliban, like to assist women there. So put forward that to me is that's calling my heart.
Yeah. And it's funny, isn't it? It's like two equally important causes, and yet so different, drastically apart as well. And and I watching something the other day, and they were talking about how having appreciation that at the moment maybe the older generation are coping better in some ways because many of them went through a war, whereas a lot of this other generation, the younger generation, have not experienced the type of trauma as a society we're experiencing right now.
Yeah.
And it's very unkind to judge them for feeling stressed and traumatized when we live in such a privileged world, and we get that. But if you haven't experienced trauma, it's still trauma. And from their perspective, it's equally as important to help.
Oh gosh, yes. I feel at the moment, which is why I did that live a couple of days ago, that the casualties of what's happening in our country at the moment is the 20 to 30-year-old. They're the youth. They haven't had the experience on the planet like we have. They haven't been through a GFC. They haven't had, seen World Trade Center tumble down. They haven't seen, Vietnam. They haven't seen conflict like we have, and we're not necessarily the elders of the village, but we're older, and we need to hold a place of safety while they discover these things without losing hope. And at the moment, I really feel the 20 to 30-year-old is the most vulnerable in our country to lose hope. The suicide rates reaffirm that, and to take jobs off people because of something that doesn't make sense to them is, to me, quite abhorrent. So, yeah, my most concerned group at the moment who I want to assist is the 20 to 30-year-old.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And that's like, you know, part of my, like for me now too, it's just like helping people navigate this as best they can, because I think that's where everyone needs support, and, you know, and everyone, like I said, needs to get off their bandwagon of horribleness, because we can all have different opinions on this subject and have a conversation and talk. It's okay. You know, humans are different. Humans have different values. Humans have different opinions. But there's no excuse for like name calling or trolling or all that stuff. And then at the same time, I sit there sometimes with comments and I get ready to go, and then I go, oh, Caroline, that person's only commenting like that because they're in trauma.
Yes.
And like, you've got to like try and step back from that and at least respond, but as kindly as you can. Doesn't mean you back away from what I'm going to say, but do it in a kind way.
Yeah,
do it with compassion.
That's right. Or give it a day where it's not so charged.
Yeah.
And it's less. I think, you know, that's been a turning point for me, handling with. It's not like every comment I say is, you know, controversial, but there certainly has been a lot of people through social media who can really send some darts to your heart. And you know, being called a whore and things like that, like it's just disgusting.
When you go like, I'm pretty sure this has got nothing to do with my sex life, but anyway.
Whatever. Yeah, but today that's been my fodder to really find more depth and strength, and I'm grateful to those people today. They really made me stronger.
Yeah, that's fabulous to hear. Now, so if anyone wanted to get in touch with you, how could they do that? And maybe someone, you know, are you looking, anyone knows of anything with Afghanistan that they want to collaborate with you?
Yeah, sure.
Or your film, with your film, do you need any help with that?
I think we're pretty much off the ground with that. That's come together really well. Yeah, so I do lots of projects in Nepal with orphanages around the world, Bali. I've done a lot with the bushfires, and when the Victorian bushfires were on, and once because I don't have bureaucracy or red tape to go through, I can make things happen. But if someone has got an inroads with Afghanistan, sure, reach out. I'm not looking to do Lamington drives. I do a bit higher up than that. But yes, definitely reach out. My website's sambopatrick.com. That's the Sambo Patrick, the health side. Facebook's still alive, but you know, sometimes I have had threats today saying your page is going to get taken down. So that's the Sambo Patrick, the health queen. Instagram, I'm not so active, but that's another way to contact me. The art stuff's all under Samantha Beau.
Or we'll come for a swim on Sundays at Cooley Cobies.
Yeah, that's right. Always there.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to add to people? Just any message you'd just like to give out to everyone today?
Look, it is unprecedented times. Every day is unprecedented, really. But these are times where I think unifying and tolerating more is so key. So even though we might have a slightly difference of opinion, slightly different skin tone, slightly different religious base, whatever it may be, I think that we need to act, particularly in Australia, act as Australians, and then think globally and act for everyone else on the planet.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you for sharing everything. And, you know, it's always lovely for me, because even though we know each other, you know, like sometimes you don't have these conversations, and you just, I love finding out more about people and what makes them tick, because I think that's how we connect as a community, as a world.
Yeah.
We're all special in our own little way, even the trolls.
Yes, that's right. I was thrown out there. Love release.